Welcome back to North of the Broad. I'm your host, Karen Wyman, coming to you from Vaden of Buford. I'm joined this afternoon by Reverend Charlie Tyler of the St. Luke's Missionary Hospice. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
It's nice to be here and have you talk about the hospice and what you do there. I know you have a really fulfilling job. We want to hear some about the details of your job and what you do every day that just creates such a fulfilling opportunity for you.
Thank you for asking that. One of the things that we do is we find ourselves trying to put people back into control of days that really feel like they're out of control. Mm-hmm. They're the most important days of a person's life and a family's life, and of course our care is not just for the patient, but also for the family and the extended family as well, sometimes the friends and even a neighborhood. And so what we do is try and put people back in control of those days, because there is nothing more important, I think, than being able to find the kind of relief and the kind of gentle end of life is what we do. I was visiting with someone just a short while ago, and they talked about the amazing facilities and the amazing things that we bring to the program. Oxygen concentrators, the medicines, the beds, the walkers, the wheelchairs, just so many things that they were surprised about. It brings the kind of control into a family's life and into a patient's life that they are completely unexpected. That's some of the things that we hear very often, is we have no idea that you provided these kinds of services.
And probably one of the most difficult things for any family to do is to make the decision as to when it's appropriate to get those services. Obviously, you've talked a little bit about what a family can expect just from that one story that you've shared, but when is it appropriate to make that phone call?
Yeah, when the family reaches a point in their life, usually through the help and aid of a physician, that moving forward with aggressive care is no longer helpful. That's when it's time to begin to start thinking about making phone calls and talking with a local hospice to help them with the decision-making process. A nurse that will then come out and assess that patient,
evaluate,
as to whether the patient is appropriate, and then we move forward from there.
So it's obviously a difficult decision for any family to make, becomes somewhat of a slippery slope when you finally make that decision. And I'm sure in your experience, you've seen some good decisions and sometimes some poor decisions, but what are some of the mistakes that families commonly make when they're making this decision for their loved one?
Yeah, the mistake that we see, if we call it a mistake, and it's always made in love and kindness and wanting the best for a family member, but very often families wait too long to engage the hospice program and the hospice care. There's this feeling that hospice means giving up, and really what hospice means is getting back in control. Studies have shown, we don't recommend it of course, but studies have shown that many hospice patients, when they're on the services, actually beat the average for end-of-life care. They actually live just a little bit longer than if hospice hadn't been involved. Usually we believe it's because there's a peace and there's less of an anxiousness and anxiety.
Calming.
It is. It's very calming.
Right.
The services that hospice brings into a family's life usually provides that kind of benefit.
I think one of the things that people may also be concerned about is the cost. Who pays for hospice care?
It's a great question. And one of the common mistakes that I have with people is thinking that there's something that's going to cost them. Hospice is paid for mostly by Medicare. Some private insurance companies will cover hospice care. And there are times where we will even step in and volunteer to take care of someone, because everybody who has a need for hospice care should be given hospice care. So we step in for that. But most, if not almost all, of our patients are Medicare or Medicaid hospice patients.
Okay. So there are a few elements of hospice care that most people don't know about. Could you share some of those with our viewers?
Oh yeah. One of the things that we bring, well, obviously our nursing care and medical care that comes into the home on a regular basis. One of the things though that most folks aren't aware of is that we also bring licensed social workers into the family's environment. We help them find sometimes needed support, perhaps that they're unaware of, financial support, often through the military. And as well, myself, of course, as the chaplain. I also serve as a bereavement coordinator. And one of the things that we do is we stay in contact for 13 months after the patient passes. Many patients are unfamiliar, or the families are unfamiliar with the long-term care. They think it's only for that moment where a patient is in the end of life journey, and when they transition. But after that is when we begin to care for the family. We make regular contacts, and
so really providing care for the entire family, throughout that whole grief and bereavement process.
Absolutely.
We really thank you for being a guest this afternoon and for sharing all the wonderful services that St. Luke's offers to the community here at Beaufort and Bluffton. We hope that you'll join us again and be a guest again in the future.
Send the invitation, we'll be here.
Excellent.
All right, thank you.
That wraps up this edition of North of the Broad.